really to alleviate the fear that everyone had, of what response, the blacks are going to have, that's, because, two of them are dead,
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode. Hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share the video. Hit the join button and become a member. Why? Well, members get exclusive content. Hit the bell icon on my channel so that you will receive a notification every time that I drop a video, and you can go and check the video out. This is part 2 of the BGF versus the Mexican Mafia there in San Quentin State Prison in 1974. This here is the response by the BGF that happened in 1975. Now, before I get into the response, let me say, someone said in all capitals in the comment, hey man, won't you get into some stories about how the BGF unalived some of them? Talk about that. I suppose, instead of me talking about this, let me just say that I don't want to bring stories that embarrass my people. That's never my intention. But when I bring a story, I'm going to bring the story as it is. I'm not going to stretch the truth. I wasn't there. My response would have been different. The BGF's response should have been different. The BGF was in disarray. Their manly leader, the incomparable George Jackson, had been brutally unalived 3 years earlier. So their strength had really been diluted. Had George Jackson been around, Comrade George, the response would have been the next morning. It would have been immediate. But the leadership, the hierarchy of the BGF at this time was in question and was in disarray. And so this is not to excuse the delay in the response. This is just to try to put it into perspective. But I wasn't there. I'll get to stories where the BGF were triumphant, where they surpassed all expectations. I respect and love the BGF for who they are and what they did for black people and continue to do. So I would never want to bring shame to them, but what I'm telling you is what the hell happened. I wasn't there. This is what happened. And we can all learn from this situation, brothers. This is why I'm bringing you to the story, so that we can learn from it. What is the biggest takeaway is that we must, how many times do I have to say it? Go on the offensive. This is for anyone and everyone watching. When there's a threat against you, your life, your person, your mother, your wife, your child, your brother, your sister, by an opposition, and this person has voiced this threat, do not wait around. I'm not advocating violence, just self-defense. You must take care of business. Because if you do not, do I have to sit here and explicate and dissect one by one the reasons that you are at an advantage when you go on the offensive? Hell, the Mexican Mafia, in this story alone, they prove why. No matter if the opposition knows that there's funk in the air, and that there's a possible war brewing, like the BGF knew, that there was tension with these guys. They had voiced that they were going to go on the attack. Shouldn't have voiced it. As I said in part 1, that was mistake number 1. But they knew that there was tension there. But still, the opposition, when they go on the offensive, if you go on the offensive, even if the other person is expecting it, knowing that something's in the air, you still have the advantage because they don't know exactly when it's coming, where it's coming from, how you're going to use your weapon, what kind of weapon you're going to use. Obviously, they got caught slipping. They knew that there was tension with the Mexican Mafia. And there wasn't BGF members. It matters to them whether or not it was actual members that were unalived in this situation. Fine. The 2 blacks that were unalived were not BGF members. They were just blacks one of them, Arthur Harris, that was unalived, was walking with the BGF member. Okay, fine. Regular blacks on the main line were unalived. If that makes you feel better. It never should have happened. Again, this is not to disparage the BGF, because they done a lot back in those days, and they did a lot for black people, and they really put black people on the map and gave black men their strength inside of prison. They really helped originate that. Did George Jackson. This is really where the strength came from in prison back in those days. So you cannot denigrate them or detract from what they did. I'm just saying, in this situation, I'm bringing you the story. You decide whether or not what they did was accurate or not, or if the response was accurate. I'm going to bring you the response right now. You make your decision. I'm just telling you what the hell happened. I say no, that the response was not prompt, it was not accurate, it was not sufficient, it was not soon enough. For whatever reason, I can give you different reasons as to why the response had probably been delayed. But it would just be conjecture on my part. It would just be me surmising. I don't know for sure. But whatever the reason, in my estimation, it's unjustified. The response should have been immediate. As soon as they hit the brother, a BGF member, on December 8th, 1974, instead of grouping up on the yard and having this face-off, they should have had already organized within that 4 days and attacked. That's the bottom line. The outcome says that this is true. Now, Sailor Boy, a Mexican Mafia member, is the one that stabbed the BGF member on December 8th. Sailor Boy, December 8th, 1974, over the supposed drug deal gone bad. After this and the face-off on December 12th, the administration decided to come up with a little government body. This is now what you probably will refer to as a MAC rep. They picked 2 people from each group, 2 BGF members, 2 Mexican Mafia members, 2 Aryan Brotherhood members. 6 in total, to go around, have talks with their people, to resolve the issue, resolve the incident that happened on December 8th, and now everybody's facing off. And they went back and told the administration that everything was good, that it was all squashed. You will see these same tactics used today. However, the administration had got Sailor Boy and Black Dan as the MAC reps. Again, Sailor Boy is the one that did the stabbing. But the administration does not know this, because the brother that was stabbed, yes, he went to the program office and told him that he had been stabbed, but he refused to tell him who had stabbed him, and they never found any weapon, and so they never apprehended anyone for the stabbing, ever. So the police don't know who did it. Of course, back then, this is 1974, there really is no snitching going on in these prisons. You're going to be unalived. So the police, I suppose, genuinely didn't know who did it. So when they picked the MAC reps, Sailor Boy being a Mexican Mafia, having the juice, shot caller, whatever the hell, he was one of the MAC reps, and so was Black Dan. But instead of going around to quell the situation, they're going around passing weapons and word on what to do and how to do it and when. They're strategizing an attack on the BGF and blacks in general. And they implemented that attack there December 19th. That's it. Black Dan, who was one of the MAC reps, is the one who unalived Truman Nichols on the other yard. After they had unalived Arthur Harris in the chow hall, 24 minutes later, they unalived Truman Nichols. That was Black Dan, who was one of the MAC reps with Sailor Boy, who was walking around supposedly to quell the issue. But as I said, instead, Black Dan and Sailor Boy were strategizing and plotting clearly and passing weapons, because Black Dan is the one who unalived Truman Nichols. Black Dan is the one who you saw in the first clip in part 1 walking away in handcuffs with the police. That's Black Dan, who had just unalived Truman Nichols, who was being carried off in that same clip. He ended up passing away. Let's get into the response. So they let out on the yard, to get right to it. They had 10 inmates, and they let out some BGF members along with Sailor Boy, Spider, and another Mexican Mafia member to the yard. Now, they were all supposed to be separated because of the tension that was, and the unalivements had already happened. This happened on May 10th, 1975. So the unalivements happened December 19th, 1974, so some 5 months later. In 1975, I suppose they're just getting off of lockdown, what have you, and everything's supposed to be squashed now. Certainly, they have to know that it's not with, 2 black people having been unalived. They let Sailor Boy out to the yard, along with Spider and a couple of other Mexican Mafia members. Awaiting them were some BGF members on the yard, upset. Secreted in their rectum, the BGF members were knives. They attacked Sailor Boy, Spider, and a couple of other Mexican Mafia members with these knives. They stabbed up Spider, but he survived, and they hit Sailor Boy 2 times in the back, and they hit him once in the chest, collapsing his lung. Apparently, Sailor Boy was a target of the BGF when they were strategizing their response and their attack. They obviously wanted Sailor Boy for sure, because he was the one that had kicked it off by stabbing the BGF member on December 8th. And then being a MAC rep, and instead of taking care and squashing the issue, was planning an attack on the blacks in the BGF, which led to the unaliving of 2 of them. So he was a target for them, clearly. They wanted to unalive him, but they did not. They did hit him in the back a couple of times, and they hit him in the chest, and they did collapse a lung. This is a fact. They collapsed his lung. But he didn't die. The next attack, the next response by the BGF transpired 9 days later, on May 19th, 1975, in a unit they had called North Seg. North Seg also housed death row inmates. Like half of the tier had death row inmates there. They had BGF members there, as well as Mexican Mafia members there on the tier. However, they were kept separated, particularly at this juncture, when this war was going on. Now, the BGF, 9 days prior, had indeed responded, attacked Sailor Boy, hit him up a few times, collapsed his lung. He's in the hospital still, fighting for his life. They did try to unalive him. They just didn't. That's it. Sometimes you can get hit one time in the stomach or something and bleed out. And sometimes you can get hit 15 times and don't pass away. I know people that got shot 15 times and survived, and somebody got shot one time in the leg and didn't survive. I'm just telling you how it goes sometimes. So they was trying to unalive him. I'm not justifying that they didn't either. They didn't do it. He survived. That's what happened. I didn't do it. They tried though. They took care of business. They collapsed his lung. They responded, bro. The BGF responded. They didn't just accept what happened. Just in my mind, again, in my estimation, they responded too late. They responded after the fact. No. So on May 19th, 9 days after collapsing Sailor Boy's lung, they're on the yard. They're on a tier. They were out exercising. The BGF were in front of North Seg, the tier exercising. The Mexican Mafia was towards the back. They were separated by a gate. They could not be with each other. Obviously, now the war is full blown. And long story short, because it gets a little convoluted, somehow a Mexican Mafia member ends up there escorted by the police with the BGF. Apparently he was coming out to head out somewhere and had to come towards the front, and they told the BGF members to back down, sit down, or whatever, as they escorted him out, and all of this. They didn't care about any of that. They didn't pay any attention to any of that. The war is on. They didn't care that the police were right there escorting this guy to wherever they were escorting him to. Instead, when the Mexican Mafia member came towards the BGF members, well, they did attack him on May 19th, and they stabbed him 7 times. 4 times in the chest, 1 time in the shoulder, 1 or 2 times in the neck. He was stabbed 7 times. However, he too survived his wounds. He was in the hospital for some time fighting for his life, but he survived. And that was pretty much the end of that war right there, as I know it, in San Quentin. Now, they had other incidents prior and after this, but not really over this situation. Perhaps it was still in their mind. Many incidents with the AB, the BGF had, many more incidents with the Mexican Mafia. They were at odds over this situation and other situations, which I'll bring you in the future. But that's what happened in this situation right here. They unalived 2 blacks. They hit a BGF member, then unalived 2 blacks. BGF members are not. The BGF did respond on 2 occasions, on May 10th and on May 19th, as I just said. They did collapse Sailor Boy's lung and hit Spider up there on the yard. He survived his wounds. And then they hit up another dude on the tier and stabbed him up 7 times, clearly trying to unalive him as well. Hitting him 4 times in the chest and in the neck, etc. They were trying to unalive him, but they did not. I don't like the outcome of it either, fellas. Let's just learn something from it. But I'm going to have to be fair and bring you the truth. I'm going to have to be fair in my content and bring the actual facts. Sometimes the facts are going to be ugly and may not paint us in the brightest of pictures. This is not to embarrass us, just to inform us, to bring us to history, and hopefully to bring something that we can all learn from and do better and be better. That's it. Lesson learned, right? We strong, we men. Lesson learned. Go on the offensive. That's it. That's the lesson. You got a problem with somebody got a problem with you, take care of it. Don't give him the chance to take care of it. It puts you at a disadvantage. Take care of it first. Learn that from the big fella. Unc is here for y'all. Got y'all back. Man, power to the people, man. Love my people. You still got to bring you the facts. Stay free, people!